Thanks, Bruno. To take my role as the critical friend, firstly, it's hard to be too critical about some of the things that we've seen in Le Mans. My first reaction was, when we sat down and had a coffee earlier this week, was firstly envy about something that another city can do. When I saw those photos of our Domain Junction interchange, which I'm sure you've all got at it one time or other, it was a bit of an embarrassment. Is that really us compared to where the rest of the world is? And I think the third thing, though, is a sense of excitement at the prospect that, yes, we can change, and that there's some, if we do change, there's actually quite already an established model as to how it can change a city, and how improving the quality and the speed and the delivery of public transport will see increased patronage. I want to talk about a couple of comments about the how, and focus on the infrastructure finance before coming and asking Bruno a couple of tough questions about his perspective on the ground in terms of Melbourne. The first thing in terms of the infrastructure finance side is to sort of lay out some of what our problem is compared to what we see in Europe. And as Bruno was describing, there was government funding for those kind of initiatives to get that kind of change that changed the place. We're stuck in a little bit of a trap here in our country, and also here in Victoria, in the sense that state and federal governments don't want to run deficit budgets, which is how a lot of things are financed in Europe. We have this whole political debate that says, a deficit budget is not in our interest, and we kind of, in a sort of a cumulative sense, we contribute to that because we vote our politicians. What it means is that we do our infrastructure at the pace at which we can actually afford it in terms of the government budget cycle. And of course that got hit recently with the GFC, and the potential is with future uncertainty around budgets, that's going to impact in the future as well. And therefore the pace of change will be limited according to what the government can do. There is an alternative here, and this is to pick up ISPT and the industry funds. The arm of the industry funds certainly is around the property development. There also has been a strong leadership from the other side of the industry funds around infrastructure investment, and there's a whole lot of infrastructure investors outside of the industry funds. In all of your superannuation funds, you'll find that you've probably got some infrastructure investment somewhere. And there is an increased, because of the growth of the money that comes into our superannuation system, there's an increased capacity to invest. Victoria's actually not too bad about the way it does infrastructure investment. It's got quite a good skill base, but there's a lot of problems. There's a problem about the number of deals that come through for investors. There's a lack in the end of adequate investment opportunities, and what that's meaning is that our superannuation funds are looking overseas for their investment opportunities in infrastructure. We had the irony that in the heart of our drought, that we had our superannuation funds investing in water infrastructure assets in the UK, and yet we had a lot of issues that we certainly could have retrofitted our system. So what does, that places an issue that we've got. I think from our perspective, it's not a choice as to whether we need to invest for the future of the city. The question is whether we do it through budget, our budget process, whether we do it through infrastructure investment. There's certainly the funding that can do it. The critical thing that I think Bruno was coming to is that increase in patronage, but in the context of our system here, an investor would look at something like investing in infrastructure capacity and look at our tram lines and the banking up of the cars behind, and that's not particularly attractive, and we need to address those kind of issues. We need to address the corridors to enable the trams to actually travel faster, and also the quality of the trams too, because I think that were the two things that I picked up from Bruno's sort of presentation. It was actually the image of those very sleek trams that were delivering connectivity, that were delivering a quality journey and a fast journey. And I think you've got to bring all those things together, and then you've got something that is actually quite an investable opportunity. And the question for us is, wherever the investment is, whether it's government or whether it's our superannuation funds, which are doing it at the moment, There are many things that we need to look at and invest in, and the infrastructure is absolutely critical. And as I've been talking about, we released our last report around the infrastructure needs to map out what we need to do as a city. So there's plenty of issues that we need to address, from water to energy to the actual retrofitting our city, but certainly the public transport is absolutely key. So I'm going to return to my seat and ask Bruno some tough questions now.
Not too tough.
Bruno, let me just start with political will. And as a Frenchman, please be really direct and honest. How did the examples that you had, how did they deal with the local tradies, the traders in those areas?
So I think our traders are about the same than here, and I understand, especially when you go through a new project like this, roadworks construction is huge. It's probably bigger than if we want to upgrade the network here. So it was like almost a 2-year big construction site. Traders were very unhappy, and I understand. There was the idea for the government is that they knew, and through other examples that we can find in France or in Europe, at the end of the project, when the tram's there, and even if you remove cars, the revenue, traders' revenue, tends to go up anyway. So there was clearly a will to do it from on the politician point of view, and they said, we're going to do it, happy or not happy, we don't care, we're going to do it. What they understood is that, yes, during those 2 years, almost 2 years, revenue went down, so the government put something in place to help them, help the traders. How do you help them? You subsidize part of the revenue of the traders, and then you get it back after when the revenue goes up. So it's like loaning money, borrowing money to the traders so they can survive. They had the choice to go through that kind of a system, which is sometimes difficult for traders because it has to be very transparent in the way you run your own business. So some traders decided not to go through that and just left.